Hello, tarot friends. We're back today with a video that I'm not going to post right away. I'm going on a trip and I'm going to Tucson, Arizona, and I haven't been very vocal about going away as of yet just because sometimes stuff happens. So I'm probably not going to post this until like the day I'm leaving or after I've already gone. But I'm going on a trip and I am going to bring a tarot deck. I have not been on an airplane trip since pre-COVID, which means I've never been on a trip where I've wanted to take a tarot deck with me because I didn't really get into tarot until the end of 2020. So now I have this dilemma. What deck do I bring? I do think there's some criteria that should be thought about first. And in this case, for me, it is the size, the durability, the practicality of it, and the vibe / location of where I'm going. So I already stated I'm going to Tucson. So keep that in mind when I'm making my selections or when I'm showing you what I've laid out for myself. I kind of think I already have one decided, but I don't know. I've purposely been kind of avoiding these decks for the last few days, a couple weeks actually, to try and help make this decision more solid when I'm looking at the decks. There were some decks that I immediately wanted to bring, but were also immediate no's. So I am going to discuss those just because they were ones that I considered. The Ritual Tarot by Tierra May. I think this one is just self-explanatory. It's rather large, and the other thing about this particular trip, I'm traveling with a carry-on only. So I've got my carry-on and my personal size, and that is all I have to work with. So I definitely think a travel size deck is going to be the one. So for that reason, this one's out. However, I would love to travel with this deck. I would love to build a travel type relationship with this deck, but not when I only have a carry-on. The other one, for similar reasons, is the Saint Solay Beginner's Tarot. It's not in a bag. It just kind of sticks like I have like a remote caddy on my nightstand, and it just sits in there fully open, and it's the one I've been using significantly this year because it's within reach of my nightstand. But as far as wanting to take this on my trip, I love the vibe of this deck. I really do. Is it giving me Tucson vibes? No. But you know, there are definitely times when you pull a card and you're stuck. Like maybe you pull a quote unquote really positive card for a more negative position in a spread. One of those that I always struggle with for me personally is the sun. If I pull the sun in a more negative location in a spread, it always trips me up a little. So with these keywords, there we go, and reversed, it helps. So I feel like if I'm traveling and, you know, I'm doing a reading for either myself or for someone else that I'm going to be visiting, having those keywords would be nice. But this cardstock is a little bit on the thicker side, and it's just bigger. It's not a travel size deck. So we are not going with Saint Solay. Another bigger one that was considered, this one is always considered anytime I go anywhere, even on like a weekend trip, is the Vintage Tarot deck by Dark Forest. We'll just take a gander. Even though I'm not picking it, the reason it's on here is because it's plastic and it's very durable. Durability was one of my things to consider. So you can get this deck wet, you can bend it. Now I have noticed that when I shuffle this deck, it does hurt my thumb pits, my thumb creases. So right in there when you're shuffling, just because it is plastic, and it's quite stiff. I do think that over time might get a little better, but I don't know. It's hard to say with this kind of material. Also, this is an RWS clone. And I feel like having an RWS clone on a trip is probably, for me, more so the way to go, just because I haven't traveled with a deck in this capacity before, where I'm only bringing one. That's my other thing. I'm really trying to keep it to one. Again, see previous conversation about only having a carry-on. So I liked that idea for this, but again, thicker cardstock. And it is just a bigger deck. Also, I don't love the idea of bringing something in a tuck box because they get banged up pretty easily, at least for myself. So I would have to put it in a bag, and it's quite slippery. So just because of how shiny it is. So I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, that's out. Those ones were considered and then vetoed almost immediately. So let's go on to some other ones. I don't know where to start. This one is not a travel size per se. It is smaller, but the reason it came up was because of the vibe prerequisite criteria. Terra del Fuego. This to me is Tucson, Arizona. It's really hot in Tucson right now. It's a good size. I really like the size of it. Again, we've got the tuck box problem. But I could put it in a leather bag, which one will be coming up shortly. But I don't know. This deck, I've discussed this before with the creator. What is his name? I'm drawing a blank. Ricardo Cavolo. He has a not so great relationship with the material realm of our world, and I do think that comes across in the Pentacles. The Pentacles tend to lean more negative on their imagery. And for that reason, I don't really like to read for other people with this deck. And I'm going away to see other people. I'm going to see my sister. And chances are I'm going to be reading for her, if not other people as well. This would be her vibe. She would love this deck. But I don't know how I feel about negative presenting imagery. I don't know, but she would really like the vibe of this deck. So I don't know. Maybe it's a maybe. It's a 75% no, 25 yes. Again, criteria should also be your audience. Who are you reading for? So it'll go in the maybe pile. See, this is why I want to do this. I want to discuss this with, well, myself, because this isn't live. Another one that I immediately thought I would bring, but vetoed, is the Gentle Tarot in a tin, because it's in the tin. I don't know. There's stuff in the bottom here. I still haven't used the little stickers. Hold on, they don't want to come out. They're shy. Still haven't used these guys. This, sometimes I think maybe it is Tucson, Arizona, and sometimes I think maybe it's not. I do like the metal tin. I think the metal tin is quite handy for my circumstances. The size is, I mean, it's a little bit big compared to other tins, which we'll also see in a minute. Sometimes I see Arizona in these images and sometimes I don't. So I don't know. But I think this one is out just because I do have other ones that fit the vibe. That's strange. I don't do reversals. It's always so weird when that happens. It's like, should I pay attention to that? Funny fact, when I first started reading tarots, I didn't think that you shuffled reversals in. I thought that reversals just kind of like happened. And if they happened, you had to read a reversal. But then I realized in my tarot course that you actually purposely shuffle them in. So that's kind of how I read reversals now. If there's one there, I'm like, oh, I should pay attention to this. Anyway, there's other decks. Like I would take the Terra del Fuego before I would take this one, I think. Oh, damn. I don't know. I think it's out. I think it's out. It would do well in a bag though, in a carry-on bag or personal item bag. That's the other thing. I'm not sure where I'm putting it. If I'm putting it in the personal item bag or if I'm putting it in the carry-on bag. Guess it depends on how much room I have left over in each of those things. So this is going to go, I think, in the no pile. Another almost immediate no. The only reason it's really on this list is because it is a travel size deck. I don't know if we're getting rain, but I just lost so much light. I keep it in this bag. It's the Sacerdote Travelers Edition. It's actually called Travelers. I also don't think that this one fits an Arizona vibe. I think that there are other ones that fit the vibe better. But it is a travel size. I don't know how durable this one would be. The cardstock feels quite flimsy and thin. I don't know how to explain it. You can kind of see it's not linen, but it has like a circular pattern, and it's very, I'll just show you. I edged it in black. It did not come edged. But if we want to like split it into two and give her a shuffle, it's very bendy. She's very bendy. So for durability, vibe, also a little not as durability, but so that one's out. It's going in the out pile. Okay, let's do another out, which I realized is in the drawer, which is right here. So we might get shaky for a second. I have the regular size and the tin, Wild Unknown. This is another one that came to my mind almost immediately. Guidebook comes with it. Perfect. Not a huge fan of the Wild Unknown guidebook though. So I don't know how much that helps me, but I feel like if I got stuck, the guidebook is there. So that is a bonus to this particular one. Size is fantastic. I also think my audience would like this one, but this does not scream Arizona at all to me. Other options, but the portability and practicality of this one, with it being in a tin and having the guidebook, it does win in those categories. But sometimes I just, you go to read with this deck and sometimes it's just not happening. That happens to me sometimes with this deck. I haven't used it in a hot minute, so I do have a couple of weeks, actually 2 weeks today until I leave. So I could play around with it. I could work with it and see. I don't know. As of right now, it's a no. So I'm going to put it back in here. So sorry for the shaking. Ooh. Sorry. Next. This one. So here's a leather bag that I was talking about. I rotate these out. I switch them up kind of seasonally, I guess. I used to have the Marigold Tarot in here for fall, and now I have the Outgrow Yourself. So this one was originally, I was like, Outgrow Yourself, 100%, because not only is it upside down, not only is it a tarot, but it is an oracle as well. So you get 2 for the price of 1. So it eliminates kind of like my thought process of, do I bring an oracle or do I not bring an oracle? Well, you've got one right here, my friend, as well as a tarot. I don't know if you've seen my previous videos, but I did do a little mod to this deck to help myself out because I am not down with the Thoth. I don't know what that little white speck is. Keywords, I don't have them memorized, so I did give myself a little bit of a cheat. Obviously, I have to edge this because it came like that, I believe. I don't think I'm not rough with my decks, but anyway, that's a whole other video. This one is still, like, I am 50-50 on this one for that reason, because it is tarot and oracle. Also, it would help me out with my Thoth learning journey. I do think that this is Arizona. I mean, the things might not be native to Arizona, but I feel fire when I look at these beings, when I look at the plants. Like, I feel fired up. I feel it. And, that's what there is. So this one is still 50-50. It's not the one that I've in my head already decided on. I've gone back and forth so many times with whether or not I'm going to bring this one. There is one reason that's really stopping me from packing it and bringing it. And that is because I have ordered a deck that is being delivered to my sister's house for me when I get there. And if I bring 2 decks, so if I bring this one plus the other one that I've basically kind of sort of already decided I'm bringing, now I'm coming home with 3 decks in my carry-on. That's a lot. This doesn't really take up too much space, I don't think, but it is a normal size deck. So not a travel size. I mean, it has points for practicality because it's both tarot and oracle, but it loses points for practicality because of its size. It's going in the maybe pile. Where's that? Over here. Next. This one was another one that I was almost basically like, well, that's what I'm going to bring. But it's out. It's out. It's the every... Oh, I split mine up because they were warping. So it's the Everyday Mini Tarot deck. This stays in my purse 24/7. Have I used it? I mean, I think I can count on one hand the number of times I've actually used it. What I don't like about this is the teeny tiny text. Sometimes, I don't know why this doesn't want to focus up close. There is dirt stuck under my nail, by the way. It's not coming out. I was picking wild leeks this morning and it didn't go well. Yeah, the teeny tiny text. It's cute, but I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I don't want to pack it, because it's cute. Tucson doesn't give me cute, but this is tiny. I think out of all the decks I have, this takes up the least amount of space, and it would kind of not necessarily be a bad idea to develop a relationship with it, because I don't really feel connected to this deck whatsoever. It's just kind of like my emergency travel tarot deck for all of the emergency tarot readings that I never think to do. If I'm having a moment where I need to make a decision or something, it never crosses my mind to ask the tarot about it ever. So I really don't even need to bring one in my purse. But the second you take it out of your purse, that's when you're going to be like, let me ask my tarot deck that I took out. So I don't know. Back to the whole build a relationship. I think I have other decks that I would rather, if that was the sole reason for packing a deck, I have other tarot decks that I would prefer to build a relationship with more than this one. So she's out. She kind of always was. We had a brief love affair with her coming, but it didn't last long. And I saved the one to last that I'm like pretty sure is coming, right? This one, I almost forgot about it. I bought it last fall, I believe. And I've hardly worked with it, which is a shame. Almost forgot about it when I was considering which decks to pack. And then I had this like epiphany as I was falling asleep one night. And I was like, oh my gosh, the Santa Muerte Tarot. Duh. This is the perfect deck to bring to Tucson. I don't know if you've watched my videos, you may have heard that my sister and I have participated in the Day of the Dead, the Dia de los Muertos, a couple of times in Tucson. The parade, it's so much fun. The culture, the colors, the costumes, even just the whole reasoning behind the Day of the Dead. You go on this parade and people carry around photos of their loved ones and they walk through the parade with them, and it's a vibe. It's a whole vibe. It's what made me fall in love with sugar skulls. I love sugar skulls and skulls in general, so this works for that purpose. That being said, I'm gonna hold them up. I know there's people who don't like this, but there are some cards in here that trip me up a little. If we come across some of them, I will let you know. But I almost think that this is it. That's a hard box. It's a pretty sturdy box. It's not a tuck box. It's more so the vibe for me. This is one that I don't 100% jive with, the Seven of Swords. What does it say? Hope and reflection in the coffin, that it's clearly been scratched. There's the nails from the coffin. The Mexican calendar, is that what is underneath them? I don't know. This is a more Five of Cups feel to me. Instead, it's the 8. So I do feel that if I was to bring this deck, some of these cards might trip me up. Let me go through and find the other ones. Okay, so all of the 10s are butterflies, which makes sense because that's the completed cycle of the caterpillar. It rebirths itself into a butterfly. It's just, in a scenic deck, I would have preferred, I don't know, a scene for the 10s. Not a big deal. The 10s are the easy ones. Here we have the 7 of Wands. I don't know. The 6 of Pentacles with the time, the clock. I always think of giving back. I don't know. The 4 of Swords. This one's not terrible, but this seems more of a forced rest. Like this person is nailing a coffin shut. I mean, we don't know the whole story. Is there a person in there? Is there not a person in there? But this kind of makes me feel more of a forced state of rest, not a voluntary, like, okay, you need to recognize that in order to continue, you need to take pause. You need to gather yourself. It's just because I mentioned the 5 of Cups. This is what the 5 of Cups looks like. I can work with this, but not my favorite. The 4 of Pentacles. This was one that I kind of really struggled with, but now since I have looked at the Thoth deck, I kind of like, I see a Thoth theme here, so maybe it's leaning more Thothy in the imagery. I don't know, but I kind of don't really understand what's happening. Come on. In a 4 of Pentacles, feel 8 of Pentacles. I don't know. You always see someone working, mastering their craft. The 6 of Cups, memories, nostalgia, or giving back emotionally. And as far as a giving back emotionally, which is the numerical. If you read numbers in tarot, it would be giving back emotionally. That one I can see, but the typical nostalgia that we see, I don't see that in here. 7 of Pentacles. I don't know what this game is called. I've heard it and I forget it every single time. But he's playing this game where you slide the things along. That must have something to do with the meaning. Don't know what that is. And the 5 of Wands. So this skeleton has some matches and he's lighting it. It's in an old wooden type place, which would burn quickly. I don't know. So that's my hesitation when it comes to this deck, is that some of them I don't love. Let's mix in all my confusing cards because I don't want them all to come out at once for me. Yeah, I don't love it. Now it does come with a guidebook, but it is Lo Scarabeo. So although it looks like a decent guidebook, it's not. It is a small wee thing. So, whoops, let's just take a gander. Let's look at the 8 of Pentacles because that's the one that's kind of coming to me now. This one that I had issues with. 8, accept advice, yet remain prudent. Right? Okay, 6 of Pentacles. Proceed with haste, the best is yet to come. I don't even like these. I mean, you can pause to read this. I won't use it. So, although, yeah, it has a guidebook, great, I am not going to touch it. So, I still think this wins for vibe, and I like the durability. I would have to like put an elastic around it because it's quite loose on there, it seems. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to do. I don't know what deck to bring. I really don't. And let's, again, keep in mind, I have a deck that's going to be waiting for me when I get there. So in my carry-on, I'm gonna have a brand new deck to bring back, plus whatever I pack. I don't know. Maybe I'll post this a few days before I leave so that you guys can give me your opinions and help me. Anyway, that's my struggles. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you when I see you.